Well, it looks like we're not in the art room again today, so Bono thought he'd help us this morning sing our art room rules. So remember, we're not in the art room, so here we go. Let's warm up our voices today like we normally do. I'll go first, you repeat after me. Me, me, me. My, my, my. Mo, mo, mo. Here we go. You're not in the art room and these are the rules. Kindness and respect are always cool. Use your imagination and then create. Take your time, watch those lines, you'll do great. Positive statements while you're in school. Saying nice things are super cool. And now you know the rules that we go by. Practice makes perfect, so give them a try. Okay, today we're going to learn how to do background, middle ground, and foreground using trees. So I thought I'd start by teaching you the simplest form of a tree called the 11YV tree. So we're going to start with the number 11, just like this, okay? Now you're going to turn it into a Y. So far you have your 11 and your Y, and now you're going to add two V's, the letter V and the letter V. It's starting to look like the inside of a peace sign, right? Now come down here to the bottom and go curvy and bumpy all the way around your tree. Now you want to tuck these branches, so take a curvy line like this and hide those branches. And you've got your tree. Now the bottom looks a little crazy, so you might want to curve that out because a lot of times those the roots are going to go into the ground off of the trunk like that. And then you can give it a little ground line if you want, something like that, okay? Now, if you're going to do a tree that is in the distance, it's going to be a little further back. So curve your 11 this time and turn it into a Y all by yourself. Just curve it up like that. Now that's 11Y together. And now add 1, 2, 3 V's this time. And now curve those branches all the way around and give a little curve and a little curve, okay? Now, if you're gonna make a really complicated one, curve it. Look at how much I curve those. Now put your V here, put another V next to it. Put a small V up there, put a large V right there. Put a medium V, put a small V. Now, as you come around, if you bump in, just tuck behind it. Add your curvy little lines. And there you have your trees, okay? Okay, we now have a blank sheet of paper and we're gonna go ahead and start by putting a giant YV tree right up front. So we're gonna start at the very bottom of the paper. We're gonna come up and we're gonna curve that first side of your 11 and we're gonna turn it into the Y just like that, okay? Same thing here. Real wide in the front, just like this. And now bring it up and turn it into your Y. You can already see that Y forming there. And now you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna add your V. So we'll put a V here. You don't want a real pointy, kind of round it a little bit, okay? There's a V, just like that. We're gonna come in here and put a V. And it looks like we have room for a V right there, okay? Now, same thing, we're gonna start here, curve around, and bring that on up to the top. Curve around, and bring it on up. Now, you wanna curve those lines here, okay? And
here. Tuck those branches right up in to this tree. You know what? See how fat this branch is here? Watch this. Let's put a V in that one. And then we could curve it. This one here. And this one there. There we go. Okay, and there's our first tree. Now, that's on our foreground because that's the closest to us. Now we're gonna go with the middle ground. So we wanna give the middle ground its own line. So we're gonna start here and we're gonna bring a line across and stop and jump right over that. There, and I'm just gonna curve it on like that. Now there's your middle ground right there, okay? And on your middle ground, we're gonna draw a couple trees, but they're gonna be sitting a little bit further back. So we're gonna bring it up here. Remember, curve it out, add your V, add another V. If you have room, add a third or fourth V, and then curve that all the way around. You might bump into the tree, you might not bump into the tree. I got really close, but I didn't bump into the tree. Curve it, curve it, curve it, and curve it. Now this looks a little interesting because it looks like it's sitting here up on top. So if you want, you could erase that little piece and then that little chunk of the line right there, and you could bring your trunk out in front of that line, kind of like this. And then if you wanted, you could put a V here and a V here and a V here. Now on these, what you're gonna do is you're gonna have to hide that. So we're gonna put a little bit of grass right there so it looks like it's growing into the grass. A little squiggle line of grass, just like that. Okay. There you go. All right, now we can go ahead and add another hill if we want to go further back, or we could add another tree. Why don't we add another tree? So I'm going to take a little chunk of this line out, all right, and then I'm going to add my tree like this. So it breaks that line. Now you don't have to do the roots out like that. If you want, you could just do a little hill like this. So it just kind of looks like he's growing in there. Okay, and come out and add your V's. Sometimes I'll add a V and I'll come in like this and add a V and a V. And then here, I'm gonna add a little V. How's that? That's a pretty good tree. Curve that around like that. I went right off the edge of the paper, but that's okay. That'll happen. Now this one is gonna bump here. Now if you look, this tree is behind this tree. So when I bring this around like this, I'm gonna have to come back in with my eraser and erase that one to make sure. Now you can still see my line. When I color this, that's gonna hide part of that line. But if you're not gonna color it, then you wanna make sure that you're drawing a little bit softer than what I am, so that when you erase, don't forget to tuck those branches up into the foliage of the tree like that, okay? All right, now, you're gonna wanna put some trees way, way in the back. So what you can do is go right here and squeeze a couple little trees in. They're way, way back there. Something just like that, okay? And if you wanna get super creative with it, you could throw another hill over here. Go back, hit here. Look at how that hill came all the way down there, right? And since that hill is so far back, I'm gonna add a really tiny little tree there. Now, if you wanna get real creative with it, you can add some bushes, you know, curve them around. You wanna make curvy bushes, that's cool. And a couple little bushes here. Little bushes here, all different shapes. Okay, you might want to put some real tall grasses up front here, something like this. You could also add flowers and grasses. Just remember, the further back you go, the smaller things have to be. So you can take a little tree, we could add another hill right here. And this tree is so far back It's only got one little V because you can barely even see it. Okay? Maybe I'll throw a couple little ones. Something like that where you can't even see the V because they're so far into the distance, okay? Now, if you want to give it a little more detail, you can add some wood veins into your bark. And you think about the way the tree grows, it grows up like this. So you're going to get some lines that come up like this, okay, right down into there. Now, sometimes what you're going to see are those knots. And so what I do is I kind of come like this and make that knot. And then I'm going to wrap this one and this one around that knot, okay? Sometimes they curve, and if they curve, they might have a little knot again. A little piece of wood in there, something like that. Bring those lines down. And it gives it a nice texture to your wood, so it doesn't look just like smooth, but you've got some good texture. Okay, and you're gonna be able to show your details a lot more here on these front trees because they're closer. And then when you get to these trees, they're still gonna have that detail, but you're probably not gonna be able to see the knots as close. You might give them a little, something like this here. But notice, and then as they get further back, I might even just do a few lines. You might not even really see these lines at all. But it does give it a little extra texture so that it doesn't look just like smooth and boring, because we all know that's not how trees are. Okay, and then you have your background, your foreground, and your middle ground. Hope you enjoyed it.
I take it to the next level. Add circular strokes of green and then overlap it with a darker green and circular strokes to give it depth. Outline your texture lines and use different colored browns on your trunks. Color your foliage and then overlap it with different colors of greens and yellows to give it a more vibrant look. Use different colored greens in your background, foreground, and middle ground. And when you look at that sky and say that's too much blue, just add some clouds to break it up.